All right, welcome. Hey, everyone. My name is Josh Blackman. Good to see you. I'll be doing your mock class today. Welcome to law school. Welcome to South Texas. My goal today is to simulate what a law school class will be like. Uh, it may not be pleasant, but better today than Monday. I'm warning you. Give you a warning. You always have to be honest with students. I remember, not fondly, but I remember my orientation. Please be on time. Thank you. I remember my orientation. I told you. I remember my orientation when I started law school, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and it scared the wits out of me. So we'll just get started. All right. What's your name? You. Yeah. Adam. All right. Give me the facts in Pearson versus Post, please. Pearson versus Post. Did you read it? You guys have Pearson versus Post? Ma'am, what's your name?
Yasmin.
Yasmin, did you read Pearson versus Post?
I did.
Can you give me the facts, please? Please be on time.
Post, the plaintiff had been out hunting with hounds
Okay.
this morning, and said that he had been pursuing a fox for some time.
What happened then?
Then Post, the defendant.
Who's the defendant? Who's the plaintiff?
Sorry, Pearson, the defendant.
Okay.
Had intercepted the hunt and killed the fox.
How do you know that Post was the plaintiff and Pearson is the defendant? How do you know that?
Post is the one who brought about the complaint.
Correct. Now, is that listed anywhere in the case, or did you figure that out?
It is not directly listed, but within the second paragraph, Post is the one who was the one hunting the fox, and then when it got to.
Very good. So this is one that, and wasn't your Yasmin made a very good observation. A case always has two names, right? A versus B, right? The case won't always tell you who is the plaintiff, who's bringing the case, and who's the defendant, who's being sued. And I think she figured it out, which is good. I'll give you a trick that you'll be useful. In law school, at least your first year, you're reading mostly appellate decisions. What do I mean by an appellate decision? It's a decision of a court of appeals. So you have a trial court where the case begins, and there's an appeal. Who is filing an appeal? The person who, what's your name, sir? Elmer. Who would file an appeal in a trial court?
The person who lost.
Yeah, the person who lost, right? If you win, you're not filing an appeal. If you lost, you file the appeal. So this case is called Pearson versus Post. Who filed the appeal? Pearson or Post?
Pearson.
Why did Pearson file the appeal?
Because he lost.
He lost. So again, who's the plaintiff? You said it correctly a minute ago. But whose name comes first in the name of the case? So that's the trick, right? You think, oh, the plaintiff comes first, defendant comes second. No, not always. In an appellate case, the name that comes first is the guy who lost below. So we know Pearson lost in the lower court and Post prevailed. So let's talk about, so what's your name over here? Cam. What happened in the lower court? How did the lower court rule in this matter?
Post had been awarded the fox in Queens County.
So Post won the case, right? So the plaintiff prevailed and the defendant appealed. Okay. Cam, why did the trial court rule in favor of Post the hunter?
Because he had gotten the fox in the end.
Did Post get the fox in the end? Who actually got the fox?
Was it Pearson?
Are you asking me or telling me?
It was Pearson.
How did he get the fox?
He, in the end, killed the fox and captured it.
So who did the trial court rule for?
For Post.
Okay. But no. Yes, for Post, right. But who actually got the fox?
Pearson.
So they ruled for the person who didn't actually capture the fox.
Yes, because he had been in pursuit of it for several hours.
Ah, okay. So let's take a step back. Now, what's your name?
Asia.
Asia, let me ask you this question, please. The facts here, and I think you stated the facts correctly a moment ago. The facts here are that you had a guy, Post, who's a hunter, and he's spending some time hunting for this fox. And at the last minute, Pearson shows up. He swoops in and he kills the fox. How should we resolve this dispute? How would a court resolve this dispute?
Well, I think the main question when I was reading the case, I think they were asking, how do you declare ownership of the fox?
Okay, good. So what's ownership?
I think there were different opinions.
I'm asking you, what does ownership mean?
What you consider like you have control over?
Control over. Okay. Now what's your name?
Sky.
Okay. What does it mean to have control over something?
To, I guess, to not, for whatever you in control of, for not being able to, for anything to, not, for not being able to take away, to be taken away from you.
Someone else can't take it away.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying control means someone can't take it away. If you're hunting a fox and you don't actually get to the fox, do you have control over it?
No.
Then why did the trial court rule for the hunter then if he never actually got to the fox?
I think because they incorrectly ruled that pursuit alone is enough for what they call occupancy.
Wait a minute. So what's your name?
Braxton.
Brax, let me ask you a question. Why do you think a court might rule in favor of a hunter who never actually gets to the fox?
He had the intention to capture the fox.
Is it enough to have intent to have control, to use a word that was used a moment ago? Is that enough? You know, I intend to steal your water bottle. That's my intent. Is that my bottle? No. So how does that work?
In this case, they classified it as mere pursuit wasn't enough, but if they're in pursuit and they were to strip it of its natural liberties, or therefore you're in control of it, or if you were going to damage the animal.
Right, but did the hunter in this case damage it or any way? So then, but how did the trial court? I'm asking, how would the trial court rule in favor of the hunter if he never caught it, never damaged it, he didn't lay hands on it, didn't even throw a rock at it, trap, nothing? We established the hunter won the lower court, right? We established this a minute ago. How did the lower court rule? Well, we say, what's the posture of the case? Why did the lower court do what it did?
That he was in pursuit would go with that.
Pursuit. Okay, so, and so what's your name?
Jackson.
Jackson. Why is being in pursuit relevant for property law? This is property law we're talking about here, right? I'm chasing someone. I don't get it. Why do I get them just by chasing it?
I think it went back to, I was reading the dissenting opinion on Judge Livingston.
Aha. Okay, go on, tell me.
He was saying that the law traditionally requires physical possession, and that he cited some interpretation.
Yeah, just say it.
Is it Rodius?
Grotius?
Grotius.
Yeah. Who Grotius?
Which he said allows for property rights when the hunter is close enough to likely capture the animal.
Ah, so wait a minute. It seems there's two different rules here, right? Ma'am, what's your name?
Valeria?
Valeria. What are the two different rules that one could adopt here, the majority of the dissent? What are the two different rules that might be adopted in this case?
To my belief, the first rule could be that true ownership of an animal could just be through actual capture.
Capture. The rule of capture. Okay, that's one rule.
And then the second one could possibly
pursuit. You do enough work, you get it, right? All right. So there are these two theories of property which exist to this day. One is called the rule of capture, which I think Valeria said a moment ago. The rule of capture is, as it suggests, when you physically lay hands on a wild animal and you're the first person to lay your hands on an animal, you have captured it. You have deprived it of its natural liberty. It's some of the phrasing used in the cases, right? It's not always necessary to capture with your hands. Maybe you throw a net on it. Maybe you shoot it with a bow and arrow, right? Maybe you throw a rock at it. Maybe you have a trap. Imagine you're hunting a whale. You can't exactly get your hands on a whale, but you can put a harpoon in it with your mark on it. Maybe you want to capture a colony of bees, right? This is actually a thing. You can't hold a bee with your finger. That would be not a very smart thing to do. So you can mark the hive with your symbol. You guys are Texans. How do you mark cattle? You have a brand, right? There are different ways of having ownership of the rule of capture, but the purpose of this rule is as simple as that this is mine. When you put your brand on a cattle, okay, that's Josh's brand, right? When you capture a fox, say, here, I got it, it's mine, right? That's your proof. That's your evidence. Now, ma'am, what's your name? Summer. Let me ask you this question, Summer. Why might courts favor the rule of capture? Why might that be a rule that judges would favor applying?
I know how Tompkins was stating how if they decided on it just being within reach or reasonable prospect that would cause some legal issue or litigation issues probably further on.
What do you mean? I mean, you're correct. What do you mean litigation issues? Just spell that out for me, please.
More of like someone could just say, oh, well, I saw that, and so it was supposed to be mine. Or
Yeah, right. So think of the world before smartphones, right? Today, if this happened, they'd be live streaming the hunts. Like, look at this jerk! He just stole my fox. So go live, right? That didn't exist in the 1800s. How would you prove if you were in hot pursuit, Summer? How would you prove that? No recording, no body cam, right? How would you prove it? He said, she said, right? You can't really prove it. Hey, man, what's your name? Alexi, let me ask you a question. But let's say you actually capture the fox. How would you prove that you captured the fox? It's an obvious answer.
I have it in my hand.
Yeah, you got it in your hands. You make a hat out of it, right? You make a coat out of it. Pelt, yes. I'm from New York. I don't know these things. Yes. You hunt?
No, I just know that from this case.
Good. Fair enough. Anyone actually hunt here? Okay, I'll ask you guys in a couple of minutes. And gals, sorry. Yeah, I don't hunt. It's not my thing. The easiest and the clearest proof that you capture the fox is you hold the damn thing up. The pelt, thank you. You hold up the animal as proof to the world. And that's evidence. That's proof. Now, maybe it's someone else's fox, but the rule of capture has a benefit. It's certain. There's no litigation risks, to use Alexi's words, right? It's clear. We know who the winner is going to be, the person who gets there first. If you got there first, you win. Okay. Now, I saw hands up a few minutes ago. Who's the hunter? Haven't called any? Okay. What's your name?
Joe.
Joe. Let me ask you a question, Joe. As a hunter, what do you think about the rule of capture?
I mean, legally I understand it. I can say that I've seen situations where it is not necessarily the most fair rule.
Oh.
I'll actually give a personal anecdote.
Please tell me.
My mom and my grandma were in a hunting blind together, and they both had rifles, and my grandma had gone out to kill a deer, and my mom had just joined her to be a spotter, and saw the largest deer, enormous buck, and my grandma was like, "Hey, check this out." So my mom took the rifle just to look, and shot it.
She took the kill.
She took the kill.
Oh, no, Grandma.
Capture, I mean,
that was her daughter? He took her mom's kill?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Family matters. Wow. Was your grandma mad?
Yeah, but she got over it pretty quickly.
Whose wall did the buck go?
Mad in the moment. I mean,
Did they put the buck on the wall? Fair enough. But I think the anecdote he just gave is actually a good one, right?
Probably applied.
No, you actually stated the case well. The challenge, so the pros of the rule of capture are certainty. It's clear, you know who has the fox. But the con, the negative, the downside of the rule of capture, it's not fair. Because who does it reward? And what's your name? Keani. Who does the rule of capture reward? Does it reward? You tell me, who's it rewarding?
I would say it's rewarding whoever got it, like in the end, but it doesn't account for someone who may have been actively trying, putting all this effort to get this box, and then
What's a synonym for effort? Another word for effort that's used in the case. Begins with an L.
no.
Begins with an L, yeah. I heard someone whisper it. Man, what's your name? Madison, what word am I thinking of? Synonym for effort begins with an L. It's a very important theory in this case. I'll come back. Anyone? Yeah.
Labor?
Bingo. Labor. Labor theory. Anyone ever heard of John Locke? You say John Locke at any point in your college? So John Locke was the most important thinkers of this era, the Enlightenment era. And his approach to property law is often called labor theory. And according to Locke, we're not just here to reward the guy who actually gets it. We want to reward the person who invests the most labor into the hunt. And in this case, post the hunt with his dogs, everything else, he put the most labor. So Madison, let me come back to you, please. Why might Locke prefer a labor theory? Why is that a useful way of awarding property rights?
Well, in the case, since it was the other option besides capturing it was wounding it. If you were in pursuit of the fox and you were to shoot, wound it, but you didn't kill it, it's showing that the pursuit that was going on.
Well, you're giving me, I think, a statement that's correct. I'm asking something a little bit different. Why, as a society, might we favor the labor theory? Why might a judge favor? Sorry.
The value of putting effort into getting something.
You're on the right track. Just spell it out a little bit more. Why might society want to have that, have more labor put into things? Want to finish it, Valeria? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, who's Valeria? No, I'm close. I'm in the row.
Society might want to reward effort because they like want people to like work.
Yes.
They want people to do.
Yeah. Joe, is that what you're gonna say?
I was going to say the same. Labor theory provides impetus for labor.
Incentives. Incentives matter. People respond to incentives. So I'll ask, who else was a hunter? Yeah. So let me ask you a question. If you knew that you were in let's say, a county that had the rule of capture, would you invest all this time in a hunt if someone can steal at the last minute?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to, do all that work and then for someone just to come and take all the fruits of my labor.
And if you knew a county put the labor theory in, would you then invest a lot of time into a hunt to try and really corner an animal and get in the right spot?
Yeah.
People respond to incentives, right? The rules that judges adopt have consequences, right? So if you're a hunter, oh my goodness, you want labor theory, right? And if you're a jerk, you're on the rule of capture. All right, everyone with me so far? All right, so what's your name over there? Cameron, let me ask you a question. All right, so I have these two theories, right? The labor theory, and you got the rule of capture theory. You're a judge in New York. Congratulations, in 1805. You got a promotion, right? Congratulations. How do you decide which rule to adopt? My question to you, how do you decide which rule to adopt? You're a judge in 1805 in New York. How do you know?
I would personally go with the rule that lays the concrete evidence.
Well, you said personally. do judges do whatever they want because they think it's their personal, what they think best? Is that what judges do? Is that, oh my God. If we're in law school, you guys are in trouble. Is that right?
No.
No. So how did judges know which rule to apply?
Previous cases?
Previous cases we call precedents, right? Precedents are a useful way of deciding things. Actually, I should have started there. I'm sorry. Now, what's your name?
Elena.
I didn't. My tunnel vision. Elena. So Cameron mentioned precedents. What sort of precedents were available in this case that the judges could invoke?
Specifically?
Yeah, tell me.
I do not know.
What authorities did they discuss?
I do not know the answer.
Did you read the case?
Yes, I don't remember though. I was looking through it. I do not remember. Specifics.
What authorities are cited? They've cited authorities.
I'm not sure.
Ma'am, what's your name?
Julia.
Julia, what authorities are they citing? What precedents are they citing?
Livingston had said that they should have submitted to the arbitration of local hunters.
So the dissent, right? And let's be careful. This is the dissent. The dissent says, what are we doing here? Let's just let these hunters figure it out. Julie, does that actually work? Can a court just ask hunters what they think? Why not? You're shaking your head no. Why not?
Because I think hunters from different backgrounds and different regions would probably likely have different opinions.
Is that any better than judges from different backgrounds and different opinions? I mean, someone's got to decide this case, right? Pearson Post brought this case to the court, this poor dead fox, right? The fox isn't even worth that much, but they got to decide. They have to pick something. Oh, man, what's your name? Adriana, what other authorities are cited by the majority, for example, to support the case? Does anyone know? Yeah, you're next. Good. What's your name? Fred.
By majority, you mean like the prior cases to like Justinian's Institute?
Justinian. Who the hell is Justinian? Do you know? You don't look up Justinian was? You should. If you come across a name or a word in Latin, maybe you don't know, look it up. Because I promise you the professor will ask that question. It's an easy one to mark. Anyone know who Justinian is? Joe?
Was a Roman emperor.
He's a Roman emperor, yeah. What did he do? What did he write down? What were the digests?
Well, I go as far as Justinian being Roman.
All right, I'll give you plus for Roman. Yeah? You might think Hammurabi, but it was one of the first laws, yes. Yes, Justinian was one of the first lawgivers, and he wrote a code, a digest of various laws, right? Anyone know what Justinian said? Yeah. It's in there, I promise. I know it was only 6 pages. This should have taken you probably 2 hours to read, just realistically. 6 pages to read, 30 minutes. No, you must read 2 or 3 times. For your first readings for the week, if you haven't opened your books yet, read each case probably twice just to start. Yeah.
By the way, this is a very embarrassing question.
No embarrassing questions.
But as someone who did not read this, where were we told to read this? I just want to know so that I don't miss.
You didn't read it?
You
didn't do the reading?
No, I did not.
They sent this to you. I don't know.
I'm exposing myself here.
I appreciate your honesty.
Now
it's better than faking it. One year I had a guy say, I asked him, how was the fox? Goes like, they shot him. He just made it up. Like, I'm an idiot. Yeah, can I tell something else? I think that student flunked out after 1 semester. Oh, now you're paying attention. Yeah, I don't know if it was the same year or different years, but 1 year a person walked in for orientation late, and I found out he later didn't make it. And I think a different year, unprepared, also didn't make it. So I give you truth. So I don't know. They gave you the assignment. At least half of you have it.
It would have been under.
Is there a groupie for this class?
All right, help them out after class. Okay, we got to move through. We have only about 30 minutes left. All right, so I'll spare you. I called yes. What's your name again? Jackson. Okay, so what did Justinian say about this? Yeah. Very good. So you have Justinian, and so I mentioned Grotius earlier. I think that was you also, right? You have all these people. Who are these people? These were people who wrote about the law, scholars, jurists, we call them. So they're citing authority from England, from Amsterdam, from ancient Rome. So what's your name? Did you read the reading? Ma'am, did you read the reading?
Yeah.
Why are the judges in this case citing these ancient philosophers? They're in America. Why are they citing these other people from ancient Rome? Why is that? Why is this thing judges would even do?
This is from a long time ago, so they didn't really have much from American law to go from.
Oh, you're like almost there. You're really close. The year is 1805. Okay. What was going on in the United States around that time?
I'm terrible at history.
Olive. What's happening on the 250th anniversary this upcoming year? July 4th, 1776? July 4th, 2026? Please celebrate 250th. Joe?
The U.S. is really new.
Yeah.
They really have a large body of law.
There wasn't law. So the judges are largely writing on a blank slate. There was no, this is mentioned, there's no municipal law, there's no statutes governing this. Right? So what's a judge to do? Ma'am, what's your name? Yeah. Was it? Rita. So let me ask you a question. You're a judge in New York in 1805. There's no precedent. There's no statutes governing this. You have some authorities saying one way, and you have Locke going the other way. How does a judge decide this case? But there are things on both sides. Barber X says one thing, Locke says one thing, Justinian says another. How do you as a judge decide this case? Oh man, but both arguments are well known. They're not mysteries. This is a very hard question. How do judges actually decide cases? Because in every case you'll study this year, there's going to be two good arguments, one on each side. And the judge will have to pick one. Joe?
I'm just.
And you didn't read it, but I'll redeem yourself.
Like the general idea of common law is they look back at similar facts in a different case or different example, and then they try and find something that's like analogous and borrow the decision.
Well, look, there's decisions on both sides of the ledger. Yes.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not in their minds, but like you said, it's easier to police or I guess enforce it when there's actual possession. So I feel like that would only, in my mind, be the reasonable reason as to why they would.
So you want the rule that's easier to apply, the rule.
I don't want that, but I think if I was a judge and there was no precedent,
Interesting.
one is arguably easier.
Easier to apply. Okay.
To apply.
Yeah. Sir, in the blue shirt, what's your name again?
Fred.
Fred, what do you think?
Maybe they look at like the policy implications.
Policy. Oh, law students love talking about policy. What's the policy here?
I guess the effect that it would have on hunting.
Yeah. And so what would ruling for the rule of capture be? How would that affect hunters?
Well, it would encourage, it would discourage like hard work. It would encourage people to get it.
Yeah. And do judges want to promote hard work and industriousness and people putting effort into tasks?
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, in the front row, what's your name again?
Elmer.
Yeah.
I was wondering, wasn't ours like based off of English law?
Well, that's true, but there's English law on both sides, right? It's not like there's only one side to this issue. There's another handsome over here. No, all right. So, oh yes, go ahead.
Wouldn't it ultimately come down to who presented the better case?
Well, let's just assume they both had good lawyers, right? And let's assume they both had evidence. In fact, the facts aren't really in dispute, right? The facts are clear. You had a hunter who was hunting and a jerk who stole the fox. The only question is a law question. Which theory of law do you apply? So then how do you decide? I mean, assume they both presented good cases. Or let me ask the question even harder. What makes a better case? Ooh. How do you know if a case is better? The evidence is clear. It's not in dispute. The guy has a fox. Pearson has a fox. That's the evidence. How do you decide what's the better case? You're nodding.
It's a difficult question.
That's why it's on the first day of law school. You got it, right? Why am I giving you a case about a fox from 200 years ago, right? This is not relevant today. This is never being decided in a court today. It's to have you start thinking about how courts work. How are judges deciding cases? In any case that you read, there's a tough question. Look, if it's an easy case, it won't be in your book. Right? We don't teach you easy. We don't teach you easy cases, right? We teach you the cases that are hard, where there's credible arguments on both sides of the equation. In most of the cases we give you, there's a majority and a dissent. Always read the dissent. Always read the dissent. Often, in some cases, they might be right. I'm partial to the dissent in this case. I think dissent probably is better, but I can be persuaded. I've taught this case more times than I can count. I still think dissent's right, but who knows? It goes to your law school casebook because it's a hard dispute where there's good arguments on both sides. And this is a beautiful case to teach because there's really two theories. Do we favor labor theory, which rewards hard work, or we're going to teach the capture theory, which creates certainty and easy to apply evidence? And there's no actual answer to the question I gave you. Why does the judge pick A or B? I can tell you something like judicial philosophy, right? I can tell you something like common law or precedent. But at the end of the day, the judge has to make a pick, A or B. And there's not a clear way of knowing which one. Joe?
Is it literally just who convinced them more? Like, which lawyer makes better argument?
Well, but that's what she said. But what makes a better argument?
They sold it more.
But what does that mean?
It means they
explained
their side. They
But-
covered every edge case.
But even if I explain to you both sides effectively, that still doesn't tell you which theory is better. There are pros and cons of both sides. That's what I'm trying to tell you about lawyering. If you had a court case, it doesn't mean you have the better case or the worst case, right? Some judges might be more favorable to certain arguments. So maybe a judge says, I want to settle this case with a clear rule of evidence, right? To reduce litigation, capture theory. Versus, you know what? I'm a judge and I favor policy concerns and I want to reward hunters. Okay, labor theory. No litigation, no advocacy will change that. It's what is a judge's mode of deciding the case. It's not politics. There's nothing partisan about this case. It's how judges approach the craft. You will see these sort of themes pop up over and over and over again. Yes, was it Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So you said, I just have a question for you. You said that you would go with the dissenting opinion in review.
I go back and forth.
Okay. I was just curious, I feel like the majority gives a clear rule.
Sure.
What would be like I guess, how do you do that?
Well, it's sort of risky giving you your own personal opinion, but I think dissent has some fair points about rewarding labor. And I think the incentive structure created by the majority is problematic. As our friend here said a minute ago, if you knew they're applying a rule of capture, maybe you don't go hunting that jurisdiction, right? Maybe you choose to go hunting somewhere else. So that's how I'd approach it. But I go both ways. I've taught this case so many times, I don't remember, I think, anymore. I remember I studied this when I was a law student, just like you all. Everyone studies this case at some point in law school. They will read this case. I can't believe that one guy sitting right there and was like, they shot the fox. I'm like, oh man, this guy's screwed. Right? I was like, oh, he's not going to make it. And then he didn't. All right, so everyone get the holding of the case, right? So the holding, who wants to state the holding of the case? It's a good question. Who wants to state the holding of the case? Volunteers. What's the holding of the case? Yeah? Excellent. Very good. Mere pursuit is not enough for control, for capture. You must have physical control. And someone said before, you have to deprive the animal of its natural liberty. Right? So let's say you're chasing the fox and you throw a rock right at its head and you knock the fox unconscious. And then as you're trying to come to it, someone swoops and takes the fox. Who gets it? Correct, Madison. Good. The rock deprived the animal of its natural liberty. It's unconscious, whatever. Okay? You lay a trap and a fox jumps into your trap. That's your fox. Right? You throw a net. The net captures a fox. That's your fox. All right? Now, what's the rule of the dissent? Who wants to give me the rule? Now, the dissent's rule is not really a holding because it doesn't control the court. But what's the rule that the dissent would adopt? Who wants to do it? Yeah.
Property can be acquired if you have, without physical seizure, you can just have a reasonable prospect.
Perfect. That's the magic word, reasonable prospect, right? It's not enough to have an intention. Someone said intent before. I can't remember who said that. It was Braxton or someone else. You can't just have an intent, right? You have to have a reasonable prospect. So let's say you're chasing it, and you're like within 5 feet of the fox, and he's cornered into a wall, and you're about to get it, and then this other jerk just jumps out of the tree and grabs the fox. At that point, you get a reasonable prospect of killing it. It was yours to kill, but for the action of the jerk, it's yours. So these two rules. And again, I'm not saying one's right, one's wrong. I think I can make good arguments on both sides. But in this case, Mr. Pearson prevailed because he actually got to the fox first. All right. Questions about the case? Questions about the case? Yes, ma'am.
I guess one thing that kind of confused me was maybe just different timing now was the animal being considered property. That line was kind of blurry for me because the animals are in like the wilderness, like they are considered. I thought they were considered like free animals.
They are until they're captured. So an animal, anyone see the word in Latin, fere naturae? Did anyone look that up? Should have. Latin, fere naturae. It means wild animal, like feral, wild animal, fere naturae. The rule was that an animal in nature was free unless you captured it, you took away its natural liberty. At that point, it belonged to you. There's a different rule. If there's a wild animal that crosses onto your property, that becomes your animal. So there was another case of study as a one now about ducks, where a guy had a pond where ducks were coming to swim. And so long as the ducks were on his property, those were his ducks. And if ducks fly away, they're not his anymore. Right? So the location matters. Here, they were hunting on a piece of public property, so no one owned it. It was actually a beach, I think, in Long Island. Anyone from New York? Oh, I grew up in New York. Where in New York are you from? Wow, White Plains?
Close to it, like 20 minutes away.
Which town?
Like Yorktown area.
I know where that is, yeah. My aunt lived in White Plains.
Oh, where are you? You're from Yorktown.
Staten Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Like Staten Island.
Ooh, I like Staten Island.
Everybody likes Staten Island. Like Staten Island. I've heard it's like it gets a lot of slander out of all the boroughs.
That's okay. I represent. Very good. All right. Any other cases on the questions on the case? All right. Let me now pivot to sort of orientation stuff. So I gave you fair warning. Was I honest? I told you. It's not pleasant, especially if you're unprepared. And I'll just indulge that some of you didn't get the assignment in clear enough fashion. Frankly, that's on you. Yeah. You have an obligation to find stuff. Law school not be sort of spoon-fed to you. There's not always a group me chat. It's on you all to do this. And I'll just tell you an anecdote, a true story. I swear, this is a true story. So my first day of law school, I had contracts, my very first class. And I had gotten the books at the bookstore, like you have with a huge pack of books. And there were two books for contracts. There was one book, it was a case book, and the second book was a restatement of contracts. Did you have to buy the restatement of contracts? Okay, so my syllabus, my professor, who was a very good professor, just listed page numbers. And he didn't indicate which book we had to read from. I didn't know. I had no lawyers in my family. I didn't know what the hell anything was. So I said, okay, I'll just read from this book. So I read the first 30 pages from the restatement of contracts. Now, if you haven't opened up the restatement yet, it's basically, how do I describe it? It's almost like a summary of the law. It's not actual cases, just summarizing the law. I read from the wrong book. So I go to law school on the first day and I look around the room like, oh God. Because everyone has their book open, is the other book. No one has this book on. Like, I was like, the guy next to me was like, what book were we supposed to read for? I was like this book. I was like, oh crap. So I frantically emailed the professor and I said, I'm really sorry. I was the evening student too. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I read 30 pages from this other book. I read the pages from the wrong book. He never replied, which is fine. So then we get to class, and they're talking about some case someone had a horse, right? Someone bought a horse. I don't know what the heck they were talking about. I had no idea. I was so lost. But then the professor asked a question. He goes, so what are the elements of a contract? And no hands go up. I'm like, oh, I know this. Because the thing I read had that answer in it. It was a summary of the law. I was like, I got it. And I was like, element 1, element 2, 3, 4. He's like, how'd you know that? And he was like, that's correct. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. Right. But my point is, it's on you to figure things out. So for first day of class, please be on time, be early. First class at 9 a.m., get there at 8, right? Traffic sucks in Houston. There's always an accident. I-10 just sucks now every day, right? Just get here early. You have, oh my goodness, I guess it's Friday afternoon, you have like 2 days this weekend. Read the cases carefully. This stuff is written in a language that we don't speak in, right? We give you these old English or old American cases because they're simple, right? Modern cases are very complex. There's a lot of things going on. We're not litigating today about foxes and horses and stuff. So we give you these old cases because they're very simple, but they're written in a language that's hard to understand. You probably have to read each case 2 or 3 times. If you just read it once without understanding, you won't get very far. My next piece of advice is perhaps the most important. When you read, you need to figure out how you're going to take notes. Now, maybe we had a session on briefing a case. There's no one right way of doing this. I know some professors say do it this way. If they say that, follow them. But you need to figure out what works for you. If you just sit there and you read and you just say, okay, I'll remember it, you're not gonna remember it. You have 4 classes. You have 4 classes, right? You have 4. Oh, you have 5. Your day students, right? You have 5 classes. You do a reading on the weekend. You're not gonna remember it on Thursday. You need to find a way of, while you're reading the cases, to retain the knowledge, right? And I can't tell you what that is because all of your brains are going to work differently. There's no, in my view, there's no single way. If you try and write down everything that's in a case, you'll never finish. It'll take you forever. If you don't write it down enough, you won't remember. Also, if you're in class and the professor calls on you, and you start reading from your notes, they'll say, hey, look at me. Okay. In your own words. They don't want you reading from a book, right? They don't want you reading from your notes. So you have to, again, this is one of the challenges of law school. There's no easy way, is to have it like up here, but also in your book. Why is it important to have in your notebook, your tablet, or whatever else? Because as you go from week to week, you won't remember what happened in week 1. Professor says, 3 weeks a week, we cover topic ABC. Can you explain this topic? Like, oh, wow, that's a long time. I got to remember this, right? Because then what happens come December? You have final exams, which is an encapsulation of everything you've learned the entire semester. And I'm sure you know this if you don't. Your law school grades is basically 100% for one exam, right? For legal writing, it's different. You have different memos and projects and the like. But for your torts and contracts and other things, your grade is your exam. So you only have one moment, a 3-hour exam to sort of prove yourself. Now, I know that sounds stressful. You're all in the same boat. So it's not like you're alone. But the way you prepare for class will say a lot about how successful you are here. And unfortunately there's trial and error, because you might get called on day 1 and you realize you don't know what you're doing. You got to fix it for day 2. The next piece of advice I'll give you, and I hope you listen to me on this one, is get to know your professors. You're all here. I think you made a good choice. We profoundly care about you. I'm giving you a hard time because I want you to be ready on day 1. I don't have to be here. This is volunteer work. I'm not your professor, right? I won't remember it. I'll remember many of you. But we do this to get you ready. Get to know your professors outside of class. Go to office hours on a regular basis. Don't leave right at 4 to beat the traffic. I know the temptation will be there. Stay here till 6 or 7. It's fine. The world will be here. Houston will still be here, I promise. Go see your professors. Go to the library and study. So often, when I teach 1Ls, I will not see a student the entire semester out of class. I know who they are. And maybe they'll show up like, can I go over my exam with you? I'm like, who are you? Do I know you? I've never seen you before. I've ever talked to you outside of class? And it's an awkward conversation. So I would not do that, okay? My next piece of advice is get to know your friends. The legal community is so small. And the people that you meet now will be your colleagues for the next 30, 40 years. But that means something. Don't be a jerk. Trust me. Be helpful to your colleagues. Yes, you're great on a curve, but not like that, right? Help other people. If there's ways of being gracious, sharing notes, those promises, those favors will be paid in the future. So just be kind to each other. Another sort of just thing to think about is you need to get involved. We have a lot of student organizations. No matter what you're interested in, I don't care. We have a hunting club, we have an Aggie club, we have oil and gas society, a first generation law student. Every group you can think of, we have on campus. Get involved. So much of what you do here is based on the connections you make. And this goes with not being a jerk. If you are with people, you tend to build a network that's very strong. At the end of your first year, you'll have an opportunity for something called law review, something called moot court. These are activities that are considered very, very prestigious. Consider them. All right. Now let's sort of go to the negatives. And I told you it will not be pleasant. Law school is not for everyone. I mean that. It truly isn't. Every year, a good number of people don't return after their first year. It happens. Every year after the first semester, if your grade's below a certain point, you might be asked to leave. And I give you this warning not because I hope it happens to any of you, I hope it happens to no one, but it happens to some of you, right? There will statistically be people who are not welcome back. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Law school is not for everyone. But you have to make the first semester count. If after the first semester it's not working, you'll have bright futures ahead of you no matter what you do. You're not spending 3 years of tuition to then fail the bar, right? So it's not trying to hurt you, it's trying to help you. 2 other big ticket items I want to talk to you about. Oh yeah, don't take shortcuts. I mean that one. So there are a lot of what are called study guides and commercial outlines, or maybe your friend took this class last year, they give you, oh yeah, take my notes. Say no thank you. Don't accept it. The value of law school is making those notes yourself because that's what you learn from. If you take someone else's notes and you take someone else's outline or you buy something on online, you're not fooling anyone. You're fooling yourself, right? At least the first semester, if you wanted the second semester to use like a commercial outline and you did well enough, fine. But your first semester, you have to learn how to do it yourself. I'll just lay this one out here. AI, all right, there's things to think about. I would not use it at all. Unless a teacher asks you to use it, I would not use it. It's so easy to become dependent upon it. There are certain skills you'll simply never learn, right? AI, generate a first draft of my paper, please. Or write an outline for me, AI, summarize this case for me. Oh, wouldn't that be awesome, right? I'm just waiting for someone to have yeah, what are the facts in the case and just read as the words come on the screen, right? Don't do it. Another point, you have to maintain a balance. As much work as we're giving you, you need to take care of yourselves. Sleep. I don't sleep nearly enough, but you need to learn how to sleep. Eat well, work out. Spend time with friends and family outside of law school. This is a consuming place. It can get hard. And sometimes students have, there's substance abuse issues. We have this. I hate to say it, but we have suicides. It happens. Students who take their lives. It's so sad for professors when students do this. So look out for your friends and colleagues. If you see a friend that might be acting a little weird or they become very introverted and very drawn in, tell us. I've had students, we've averted suicide attempts because we intervened early. Other times we didn't. So look out for your colleagues and friends. It's very, very important. And most above all, my last point, I guess, some questions. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. You will never again have a chance to engage with law and ideas like this. Once you graduate, it's a grind. It doesn't get easier from here. You're working, you're billing hours, you're really punishing yourself. But here we can think about big issues. Do you want labor theory? Do you want a capture theory? What are theories of punishment in criminal law? These are fascinating issues, and enjoy this moment. People say, "Oh, I hate law school." Why are you here? Go somewhere else. Just love it. I never left. I love law school. I've been here my entire life. Anyway, thank you. I got about 10 minutes left. Happy to take your questions now or later, whatever you want to do. Are you done after this? You have another thing? All right, well, questions or whatever you want to ask me. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. My friend from New York.
Yankees or Mets?
Funny. I grew up. It's funny. When I was little, I was a Mets fan. They became a Yankee fans later.
Okay.
But I abandoned them. It's funny. When I moved to Houston, you know what? I'll be an Astros fan.
Oh, no.
But then they started cheating. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Sorry. Oh my God. 1 year in property, I made my final exam question about cheating, how they were like banging in a drum and creating a nuisance. And people got so mad at me that I was triggering all these Astros fans. All right, what else?
It's not cheating to know something. I mean, that's like saying the Americans are cheating when the British cracked the Enigma in World War II. Ah, they're cheating.
Other questions we have? That's a strike, by the way. What other questions we have?
Did you practice law or did you go straight into teaching after you graduated?
My path is unusual. I graduated law school in 2009. I clerked for 3 years. A clerkship is where you work for a judge. It's considered a pretty cool gig. And I started teaching 3 years out of law school. I am sort of the outlier. I still do pro bono work on the side now, but it's not my primary focus. Other people here have been practicing for 20 years before they started. We have a wide range of colleagues with a wide range of experiences.
What kind of law do you do pro bono?
I do constitutional law. That's my primary focus. Yes, sir.
You teach property and common law?
I teach property. I teach constitutional law. I teach First Amendment. Yes. Yeah, I don't think you'll have me this year. Maybe next year. I'm not sure because you're now teaching. They rejiggered the schedule, so now you're taking con law in your spring semester of your first year, and I'm not teaching con law in the spring. But you might have me at some point in the future. I don't know. I don't know the schedule that far. What other questions you have?
Any tips for understanding what you're reading on a deeper level?
Yeah, it's a good question. Unfortunately, and I keep saying unfortunately, the answer will vary based on you. Everyone learns a little bit differently. The only advice I can give you is to give yourself enough time to read it multiple times. I'm not a fast reader. To this day, I don't read fast. I have to think about things. Sometimes I read a sentence 2 or 3 times. So if you say, oh, I have an hour to read this case, and it ends up taking 3 hours, what do you do for the second case? So in other words, you have to budget a lot of time for your readings every week in every class. Some of you have schedules, on this day from this hour to this hour I'm reading property, and this hour I'm reading civil procedure, right? You budget your time. Some of you have study groups. It's just different ways of managing your approach. But I would encourage you to schedule and be diligent about that schedule. Yeah, I mean, to your question, the biggest risk is you fall behind. Let's say, oh, I just won't read for this class. I'll make it up next week. No, you're not. Because next week you have all the reading for that week plus from last week. And if you fall behind 2 weeks, good luck. Because when you're in class, you know what the hell's going on, and you've fallen behind. So you have to keep up with the readings. That's the only thing you have to do. If you fall behind the readings, it gets unpleasant. Because then you hit the midterm, I was like, oh man, I don't know what's going on, and then you're really lost. Because it's most of the stuff is sort of incremental, builds one on top of the other. If you miss like level 2, level 4 won't make sense. Okay, what else? What other questions you want to ask me? Not everyone. I don't have your seating chart. I won't remember any of you, so no embarrassment. Yes, sir.
I guess there's no exact answer to this, but about how many hours do you think a law student or one else should spend?
I think about 40 hours a week reading. It's basically a full-time job, and that's on top of being in class for about 15, 20 hours a week. It's basically a 60-hour-a-week job, which is not bad because most lawyers work closer to 80. I work about 80 or 90 myself. So, so what does that mean? Okay, so you're at school from, let's say, let's just call it 8 o'clock till about 4 o'clock. So it's about, 8 hours. And then you have another 5 hours after that. So you can finish class around 5, hearings about 10 or so. Or if you want, you could do, 12 hours on Saturday and 12 hours on Sunday. But the challenge with front loading on the weekend is the week passes and things just fade out of your memory. So I was an evening student my first year of law school. I worked throughout all of law school. I was working 40 hours a week and then law school at night for 4 hours a night. So I don't remember when I did it, but I know I did it. And there was a lot of reading, a lot of weekends, a lot of late nights. Sleep was not something I had a lot of. Recreation was not something I had a lot of. But I mean, in a perverse way, it sort of prepares you for what's to come, because it doesn't get easier when you graduate here. The work doesn't just vanish. The reason why lawyers make such good salaries is because your work is voluminous. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a faster reader, but I'm bad when it comes to reading. Do you have any tips about
Don't read fast. Read twice, read 3 times. Unfortunately, when you say you're a fast reader, what kind of stuff do you read quickly? Well, I mean, those books are meant to be read. Law stuff is not meant to be read. It's not meant to be understood easily, unfortunately. But I would not use your background reading science fiction to reading law. I don't think it will carry over well. Yes, ma'am.
So as a general rule of thumb, you highly encourage like rereading a case.
You have to.
2 to 3 times.
At least your first semester, or at least your first year. By the time you get to 2L, 3L, you kind of maybe get it in one read. But maybe some of you guys are geniuses and you read it. Did anyone read this case once and knew it immediately? Good for you. I sure as hell didn't. Right? And it's only, what, 6, 7 pages long? It's not a very long case. I gave you something short on purpose. I mean, I have to re-prep this case every year, even though I've taught 100 times. Still have to go over it. Yes, ma'am.
So when you read them, do you, and I guess this is up to probably my preference, but do you like scan it first and then go through and annotate it, or I guess?
There's 100 ways of doing this. Like some people have like different color highlighters, and they have like pink for facts and yellow for law. My brain doesn't work like that. But people do it. Like I don't think there's one size fits all. I type. I like to type. Some people like to write by hand. But whatever you find that works, stick to it and have your notes, have your outline. Because whatever notes you take, you're not reading from those in class. You just won't have time to. And then your outline for the exam is going to be shorter. Yeah, go ahead.
I have another question. Hi, are you almost done?
You can sit down.
Well, it's because we're in an intersection. We were assigned.
You need this room now?
Yeah.
Starting at 2:30?
Yeah.
Oh, 2:30, come back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
So for a cold call,
You should never do that, by the way. That's really rude. Really rude.
Let's say I don't know what's happening. I'm assuming it's obviously better to put a good faith effort into my answer. It's like just or can I just simply say
I think you should demonstrate to the professor that you actually did the work and you're not sure. Don't fake it, because we sniffed it out real quick.
right. So
Yeah, yeah.
So it's better that I just like came clean. Like,
Yeah, I mean, always be honest. I mean,
if I could have just walked right through and then asked a question.
I mean, look, you maybe get caught, maybe you don't. I always appreciate honesty, but it's also the downside is like, hey, this person's not prepared.
what if I just didn't understand it? Like I read it, but I was like.
Well, I mean, there's a perverse answer. If you don't understand something, you can talk to the professor before class.
Okay, so
I mean, that's what office hours, right? I mean, if you finish reading, if you read the morning of class, you don't have that chance. If you read in advance, if let's say class is on Thursday and you do the reading on Wednesday, you talk to the professor on Wednesday. Now, they don't always have office hours, but in my experience, when you say, Professor, can we meet, even over Zoom or something, they'll do it. I rarely say no. Like, I'm on a plane. I'll call you on the way to the airport. I almost always make time. It's very rare to say no. Like, I just can't even fit it in. All right. Yeah, maybe one more question. Yes, in the front.
But whenever we're like actually in class, like how much notes should we even take if we're like listening to you and
It varies. So some professors have their classes that are recorded. And if they're recorded, you don't need to write down everything because you can go back and listen to it later. Other professors don't let you record. So it varies. But you should not be like doing this ever, typing everything down, because you should be listening and processing. If you're writing everything down, you're not really paying attention. All right. Anything else? Good luck for the first day. And I'm around. You come to my office and come say hi sometime.